I'm back, baby. Welcome into another episode of the Barking Brown Show. I'm Jacob, Mr. Casey Kinnaman, and Nick Carnes down below. We're brought to you as always by our friends over at Homage Apparel. I decided we just got to do the angry runs. Like, it's a Sunday. We want to run some people over. 10 Sundays, 70 days remain. And some angry runs against the Dallas Cowboys. So just not that we're counting or anything like that.
I'm counting.
If you're checking us out for the first time, or if you're a returning member that's been here for a ton of time, we really appreciate you. You know, the most valuable thing you can give somebody is some of your time. So we appreciate you giving some of yours to us. If you're checking us out for the first time, you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel. If you look in the bottom right hand of the screen, there is a little watermark logo. You can click on that and subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up. Help us grow. If you want to help the channel and help us continue to make some great content, you can check out our Patreon and subscribe over there, patreon.com/BarkingBrowns. Gentlemen, how are we on this Sunday morning?
Doing good, man. A little sleep deprived. Stayed up late at night watching some UFC last night, and took a slight departure from rocking my homage gear. And if we're going to talk OTs, I figured I'd rock the best to do it.
Love it.
And it's an excuse I haven't worn a football jersey yet this offseason. So this is figured today would be a good day to break one out.
So I finally dove into the newest Transformers movie last night, and I feel like
Beast one.
Yeah,
Is
that
that
one. And I think we're safe now because it's over a couple years old. But at the end of the movie, they tie G.I. Joe into Transformers, and I thought that was I feel like the Transformers movies themselves have kind of been for a while, but the potential crossover, and I think all these movie arcs are doing that. That sounds really cool to me. So I got to the end and I was like, oh, okay, so this next one's gonna be interesting.
Well, how am I just not hearing about this? That they crossed over at the end? I didn't hear. Obviously I didn't see the movie, but I would have thought that would have been that would have been spoiled. There was a G.I. Joe crossover.
Yeah, you would have thought that social media would have blasted that.
How am I just not hearing this?
So
I've not seen a meme or something. You know what I mean?
Right at the end, the dude's trying to get a job the whole movie as a security guard. He's the former Army. Anyway, he goes to this interview, and the guy that's interviewing him knows all about this epic adventure he's just gone on with the Autobots and the I can't think of the name of the animal. Sorry, but anyway, he hands him a card. And he says, you really should think about joining us. And it says G.I. Joe on it. And the back wall opens and he goes down into this giant, G.I. Joe looking place with stuff. It was really neat.
Well, I just now realized that since you were saying it, Hasbro was the toy licensor of both of those.
Yeah, I figured that's what it would be. It was something about that.
I was actually thinking, what is the connection there? Both Hasbro.
They're both at the same time. All right, guys, we are we changed some things up a little bit this week. We weren't able to lock down our Giants guest for the upcoming regular season opponents list. We're trying to nail them down for Tuesday. We'll stay tuned for that. We'll try to do that Giants episode. So we position move some things around a little bit. So main focus of today, we'll talk about some offensive tackles, talk about the Browns offensive tackle room and what's going on with them. But first, we got some Nick Chubb stuff to talk about. We're going to do some unsung hero candidates. I'll define an unsung hero in my book just so that we can put it out there before we do it. But Nick Chubb, it was a back-to-back days, which was the best part, I think, of it. Because you got a video on Thursday. Oh, you're seeing – I'm not seeing – okay, I see it. Okay. I couldn't see that comment, and then you put it up there, and then I saw it. I was like, okay, cool. It's weird. This is 4:42. But anyway, on Thursday, a video comes out from Brad Lester. If you go onto – he's at Brad Lester 1. He's an off-season running back coach, speed specialist from Auburn University. So he does a lot of working with, running backs. There was a video that we're not going to show, though, that Aiden Robbins, right, that was who was in it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
The dude that looks like a defensive end.
he was working out with Chubb with this Brad Lester guy and stuff. And so, like, if you're trying to make the roster, you're like, let me go just do what Nick Chubb does in the offseason. Like,
Right.
I feel like that's the way to go to try to make a roster as a running back. But so we saw that. But this important video I'm going to show you guys first, and we'll talk about it before we bounce to the other video that came out Friday. This is Nick Chubb. Keep in mind, he's doing some stability drills, one leg stability drills, and he's doing it on the repaired leg. So that's the important part of this video. So let me get this video up.
Twice repaired.
I know, it's great.
We're going to get flagged for porn.
I know. I try not to, but like sometimes you just got to do it. But here's Nick Chubb on some stability drills here. Just hopping back.
Hold contact.
Whoop.
There's Robbins.
And as you said, there was a running back. That was not a linebacker. That was another running back on the team. So I'll start with you, Casey. Pass you to Nick, man. What's going on? What are you feeling seeing something like that?
Well, it's the first time we've seen him do actual football stuff. You know, we know he's working out. We've seen him like some clips of him running straight line. You know, and it's Nick Chubb, dude. Was there ever a doubt he was putting in the work? Like he's, I'm surprised we haven't seen squatting videos. That's when we're going to know we're back, baby. When that tsunami bar is bending. But yeah, it's the psychology of returning from an injury is just as much as the physical limitations it puts on you, because you got to go slow. You got to build the muscles up around the injury, and Nick's taking care of all that. But the mental part of it, to know that you can trust that limb again, and so I mean, don't get me wrong, man. When I'm seeing him do this, I'm almost kind of nervous. It's like, are you doing this too soon? Like, but everything's trending, man. And the fact that he was able to do stuff on back-to-back days, that is massive. And I keep equating this to 2 weeks ago when we saw Watson really open up his carriage and throw a deep ball. It's like, okay, mentally, that's a checklist thing. He's like, can do. I can still do that. I can. So it's the same thing with this, man. It's in that first moment where we see Nick make a hard jump cut, it's going to be like, oh, we're back, baby. Until then, it's kind of like just holding your breath.
I don't know if you guys also saw the video of Nick post surgery.
That's the next video.
Okay. So we'll get into that too. But
We're getting
the guy, you know what? You can just see from the very beginning of this healing process that he is just attacking it from the moment that it starts. And there were so many questions about how long would it take him to get back, and obviously there still are, right? But it just looks like Nick is going to. If I had to put my money one way or the other, is Nick gonna beat the general expected timeline or going to be behind it? I'd say he'd beat it, because you just already see him working this knee, and I think, like, I broke my ankle a couple different times, and trying to get to the point where, like, you just rely on that. Like, it's like psychological. Casey, you touched on it already, but it's like you rely on the other, like in Nick's case, the other knee more. And so to see him just working that knee specifically and be doing that already, which has to not be very much fun for a twice repaired knee, is highly encouraging. And I love that he's posting this. I love that he's keeping people involved in that recovery process, and you see the work, and I'm so excited about it. I don't know when he's going to be ready. I mean, Kevin Stefanski left the door open, and I think he did for good reason. So, and this is why, right? Because you see that work.
I think for me, October has always been kind of the optimistic approach. I think just personally, not being a doctor or anything like that, having any kind of inside knowledge, but kind of preparing myself based on the injury and his history with that knee and all that stuff. It was like probably about 6 weeks. They'll hold him out 6 weeks, because one thing you got to think about, like, is that knee holding up So it's one thing about it getting healthy and ready to go. Casey, you've talked about this before too, like saving him from himself, that sort of thing. I think that's also part of it. Like, is he healthy at this week? Yes. But is his knee healthy to play 15 straight games, or does it need to only play 11? Like what something like that, I think is.
And at what workload and
a lot of 20 carries, 10 carries. Does it match up with what the team needs, or should they just go with something else and give you an extra week? Like, where does it go? But I keep seeing things and hearing things that pushes it up. Like it pushes it up. And maybe that's just, this is the optimistic time of the year for all 32 franchises. It is. Because you're not a damn thing has started. Everybody you drafted is going to be a steal. Everybody you signed is going to be a steal. You're playing.
Everybody's in the best shape of their life. Like
everybody else is playing checkers and you're playing chess. Yeah, like that's right. It's like, oh shit, we signed this guy. Good morning to you too, Mitch. It's good to see you. But so I try not to get too far into that. But that was awesome. That was awesome to see. That was awesome to see him making, like, you talk about the jump cuts. Well, being able to jump on one leg is part of that.
Yep.
So, like, he's showing at least progress towards the jump cuts. And you're like, okay, now let's see what happens. Like, when does he start training camp? Like, obviously he'll be there, but when does he start really practicing?
I don't expect to see it and I'm going to bridge the gap between you two is, do I expect him to beat the timeline? Yes. But do I also expect the team to pull the reins back and say, whoa, big fella? You know what I mean? Like, we need you down the stretch. It's not a race for them. Now, incentive-wise in his contract, it behooves him to be ready for that first game.
Sure.
Yeah. But I don't think Nick's motivated by money. I'm sure it plays a factor, but I'm just saying I don't think that's his sole thing. Like, I got to be back because of the money. He wants to be himself. He wants to
win. Exactly.
So he wants to be there for his team. He wants to. So I have no doubts.
People
that he will get himself as physically prepared as humanly possible.
People talk about like this clip between OBJ and him, where like OBJ said, "I want to score a touchdown," and Nick just said, "I want to win." And I'm not bringing that up as a knock on OBJ. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying that that's always been Nick Chubb's mentality. I think, I think he's always just been like, okay, I'm going to do what I got to do, because when I get on the field, I don't want to be a liability. I want to be on the field to win. I want to go out there and give the Browns the best chance to win. And I just think that's who Nick Chubb is. But I think that's still optimism. I'm still moving that timeline up to where I think we could see him in September. A full workload, probably not. But like, could he be there week 1, week 2, and carry the ball like 10 times in some areas and try to test it? Yeah, I think so. I think so. I don't think a full workload will really come until probably at least October. But I could see it, like, let him carry it 10 times here or there in September to kind of ease it.
Can you imagine, though? Say he gets in for the Dallas game and he carries the ball 7 times, but he breaks one for a touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine that stadium?
Yeah.
It would be vibrating.
Like, you know what? I wonder. Obviously, they signed Foreman, and I know Foreman is a bruiser, but I just think of the way that the Browns used Kareem Hunt as like the goal line back last year. Like, could they ease Nick in by like giving him those like goal to go
red zone touches
situations? Like, I feel like that's something that they could do. And he gets a touch on it. The team gets juiced, fans get juiced. That atmosphere gets crazy. Like, I could see that being like them easing Nick in. I think it's a credit to the Browns too, because it's like, you're not in a terrible position. I still like Jerome Ford. You got Deontay Foreman, Nyheim Hines brings you unique. So it's like, you've got a bunch of skill sets in that room. So I agree when Jacob, when you said earlier that the team is in position to save Nick from himself, to where you don't have to rush this. I mean, obviously we all want to see him on the field as soon as possible, but it's not like they're in a dire situation in the running back room. Nobody's Nick, but I do expect the running back room to be productive.
I want to show this one more quick video, and then we'll move on. Not that I don't love some Chubb.
We'll talk about Nick Chubb for an hour if you let us.
Yeah, we'll just roll right on through that bad
Should have
boy.
worn my 24 jersey. I don't know what I was doing.
Well, I forgot about the videos until right before we were getting ready to go here. So this was posted on Nick Chubb's social media, which is funny because he gets up and walks 2 hours after the surgery. Like,
No biggie. Whatever.
Which, like, I'm sure you still have some mobility and stuff like that, but it's just kind of a very Nick Chubb thing. So, but the thing is, it looks like they're doing some kind of docuseries of some sort with his recovery back, which I feel like is going to make me feel like a little bitch. Like, because, like, I think Chubb's going to go out there and do some things that with a bad knee that I can't do healthy. So it's going to make me feel.
I mean, and notice, like, Batman's staring at Nick Chubb there.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah,
I mean, that's got to keep him
the Batman back here for
people
that can't see it there.
Like, you know, the Bane arc. I feel like Nick is on his full Batman Dark Knight Rises arc.
So let's check this out. It's about a 43-second little intro clip.
Needs to work out more.
Right. It's getting a little bit of help.
Dude's got back abs.
He does have back abs. He's just like, let me just get up here. I just had surgery. A little bit of assistance, but I'm just gonna mosey my way on out the door here. Yeah. Which is it's just Nick Chubb like, I guess, is all I'm saying.
As the senior member of this panel with 0 good knees, and I've went through knee surgery on 2 occasions, not a reconstructive. I've never had anything that invasive. My God, dude! Like, and for someone like him who's already climbed that mountain once from a devastating non-contact injury to the same knee having a forcible blow and pulling everything apart again, man, he knew what he was in for. You know what I mean? That's daunting mentally. So daunting.
Yeah. It's just, I'm looking forward to that when that documentary is finished and released.
Yeah.
Like, whew, that's going to be some fun, I think. But all right, guys, so we're going to move on to unsung hero candidates. So I wrote an article recently for Browns Wire. It's probably been about a week now, but it came out like on Tuesday or so. And just because I think there are a lot of players that will fly under the radar nationally and even locally to an extent because they won't fill up the traditional box score, but will be very crucial to the team's success. Like an unsung hero that I had for last year was Maurice Hurst. Like, I think Hurst, you know, he didn't have 10 sacks and 80 pressures, but he had a pretty good pass rush win rate. He was up there amongst defensive tackles. He brought a lot of energy, a lot of effort and excitement. And even though somebody who doesn't watch every game probably doesn't know who he is and the importance of re-signing him, I think he did things that the team needed him to do, because you need your depth to do something, right? Like, you need him to go out there and, like, you know, you may have a wide receiver that goes out and only gets you like 400 yards, but gets you 4 red zone touchdowns in crucial moments. And it's like, yeah, 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's not a superstar, but that's an unsung hero, because that guy, if that doesn't happen, maybe you win 1 less game. Maybe you win 2 less games because he makes some critical plays in some critical moments. And I thought Maurice Hurst specifically, some of his best plays were in big moments. Like, he was stepping up and making those plays when the team needed him. So I wanted to talk about some unsung heroes. We can go around and just do a couple of them.
Well, you should go first because I will steal yours.
You will still. Okay, I want to make this known that Randy Gursey stole 3 of mine. He stole he stole my idea, and then 3 of his 4 unsung heroes were mine.
I mean, did he steal
I know he didn't read it. No, because he didn't read it.
But he also told you ahead of time.
He did. He's like, hey, I'm stealing this idea. And then he was like, I really like it. Okay, so I'll start, and the guy I've got number one, it's Cedric Tillman. I went back and forth on this, but I feel like if you're going to have an offense that tries to push the ball vertically, tries to push the ball down try to move downfield through the pass game, and kind of have, because I think they're going to transition to where the run game is playing through the pass game instead of the other way around, just based on their personnel. Like, like with Baker, the pass game played through the run game, like run first, play action, boot, all that sort of stuff. I think it's going to be the other way around. And so there's going to be a wide receiver that, like, in my mind, I think Tillman has 400 to 500 yards this year. But you've said it before, Casey, and I said it in this article. He brings something unique to the table that you really don't have a lot of in the other wide receivers. And that's a really nice blend of size, physicality, and athleticism. Like, he's, I think, above average in just about all of those, but his size and his physicality, and I think he's got reliable hands. I know there were some issues here and there last year, but I think in college I didn't have as much issue with like reliability on drops and things like that. Just some of I think the lights were too big for him more than anything, and he didn't have a route. He didn't learn how to run a bunch of routes when he was in college, and that showed up as his rookie year. But I think I look at him as like this change of pace type red zone threat. Like I said it when explaining this exercise, I said, a guy that gets you 4 red zone touchdowns. That's Cedric Tillman to me. That guy that goes up and gets high points the ball and makes some big plays and some big moments, but he may only end up like 450 yards and nobody's going to think that's all that great. But when you turn on the highlight reel of each game that they win, he's going to make a play or two in my mind. And that ends up with like 400 or 500 yards, 5 or 6 touchdowns, that sort of thing. So my first guy, it's Cedric Tillman.
When I think of Cedric Tillman, I kind of put myself in the mentality of what if he had a trajectory of DPJ? Would we consider that a success? You know what I mean?
As long as he doesn't fall off like DPJ did in his last year, but yes.
Well, I'm just talking about the early part, like his development portion.
Mm-hmm.
Because of with what was weird about DPJ is you weren't getting things from other guys, so you needed to have him, as opposed to getting that kind of production when you're not relying on it because you have other guys like Amari, like Judy, like Moore. So if you get another guy who comes to the table, gives you a different skill set, gives you some stats, pulls down 3-4 touchdowns, you know what I mean? I think you feel pretty good about where he's at in his development. All right, my first unsung hero, Myles Garrett. I'm just playing. I think that if
like how you gonna twist this thing?
Look, dude, he doesn't get enough credit, but I'm gonna go with Juan Thornhill. Okay. I think that he has an opportunity this season to be the player that we thought he was going to be last year. He played all last year banged up, and he didn't play bad, but we thought we were going to get that Hawking free safety. And with this team's proclivity for playing cover one, he has a ton of responsibility to cover the middle of the field in the deep third.
Oh, yeah.
And I just think when teams take chances against us, he could capitalize. Now, what does that look like? I don't know, 2-3 interceptions. You know what I mean? And so a lot of pass breakups. But I just think that element was missing because he was banged up. And you have other free safeties that have skills, but Hickman doesn't have the range of Thornhill when Thornhill's healthy. D-Bell is more of that box guy. Obviously, Delpit can do it, the back end stuff, but he's more dangerous coming forward towards the box. So I just think that Juan Thornhill, if he gives you that extra element, man, I think that just takes this defense yet to another level.
They signed Juan to that a pretty substantial contract for a reason, right? He was a Super Bowl champion. He was a big contributor for the Chiefs, and we just didn't get to see it with the Browns because he was battling through those injuries all year. I like both your picks because I'll tell you what, I still think about that game-winning touchdown Donovan Peoples-Jones had against the Bengals that really sparked, the Browns to go on that run and eventually get in the playoffs and win a playoff game. And Baker threw that bomb to hit. It wasn't Baker threw that ball to him in the final seconds. They won that game. They came back, and the rest that season turned dramatically after that.
Yes.
But to me, my unsung hero is Nyheim Hines, And I just think, since the Browns signed Jakeem Grant, and they've tried with a bunch of other guys too, they've been trying to have a return game. They've been trying to make an impact there. And we've seen since Bubba Ventrone took over the Browns special teams that the unit as a whole has really improved. And with the NFL rule changes specifically and Hines' skill set that we've seen, I think it was against the Patriots that he returned 2 for touchdowns, and this was before the rules change. And I just think, it's been a while since we've seen in the NFL the return game truly make a large difference. And I think a lot of people have forgotten what a impact it can make. We saw Josh Cribbs do it for forever. I still think of Devin Hester helping to spur a shaky Bears offense onto the soup that they were in the Super Bowl that year. And I think Hines can be that guy that if something happens and you're down 4 or whatever, and he gives you that return and suddenly you're up 3, and it just swings the whole game. I think it's an underrated way to contribute because it's been so long since the return game has really been a factor in the NFL. And I know the Browns signed Hines just like they signed Jakeem Grant to be that impact player, and I think he will have a golden opportunity to be just that.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Can I steal another one?
That's fine.
We don't talk about it near enough. Corey Bojorquez.
Ooh, nice.
He's the weapon. When you have a defense this talented, that have proven to be opportunistic, just the ability to flip the field and pin teams and really get out there and hunt. And it's in special teams, so people look over it often. And I don't know if he's among like the tip of the spear when it comes to punters, but he's, in my opinion, he's definitely in the top quarter in the league of punters. And when you combine that with what this defense can do, I think that he could be a weapon for us this season.
I think that's fair. Alex right too. But anyway, he's probably the best edge setter on the defensive line against the run. So that's an interesting thing. All right, main topic, offensive tackle review. So we're getting closer to the end of this series, which is I think it's going to end around training camp. I was doing the math the other day because we have defensive tackle, safety, and interior offensive line. Mm-hmm. That's 3. That's 3 weeks, 3 more episodes of this series. And so we'll be like right there, something like that. It's going to be a photo finish, so to speak. And I think it's really interesting. I think we've got everything else, right? We've done linebackers, defensive ends. Did we do defensive tackle already?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. All right. But anyway, so let's talk offensive tackle. So let me start with who's on the roster. So let's talk about the who's on the roster, kind of go from that way. So left tackles, I'm going off of ourlads.com does a fantastic job with their depth charts.
They do.
And they just really highlight everything and really well. I think it'll tell you if they were drafted, signed, traded. I don't know. It's really cool, I think, the way they do it. But so we'll start left tackle, right tackle, the way they have it listed. You got Jed over at left. Probably the swing tackle right now with the guy with the man up is probably Hakeem Adeniji. Is it Adeniji? Adeniji. There it is. I knew there was something there that I was forgetting. They signed him from Minnesota. Played was part of the Super Bowl run for the Bengals at guard. So he's got that inside-outside flexibility that Andrew Barrett covets. The undrafted free agent, rookie free agent Lorenzo Thompson, which is, I think, is a practice squad stash to see if you can kind of grow him and develop him because he's got some really nice tools, but, went to a very, very small school. So take some time with him. Jack Conklin, Dwan Jones, James Hudson. Not going to try to say his name. Not going to try to say Roy's last name. So we're not going to go down that way. And one thing that's interesting is they lift Jermaine and Fetty as a guard one here.
It is interesting.
Really?
Yeah, on our lads, he's listed as one of the backup right guards. So I'll throw his name in this discussion because I think his natural position is tackle. He was drafted in the first round to be a tackle.
Right.
He might be a little bit better as a guard inside, maybe something like that. But what I think is interesting about that is Adeniji and Ifedi, they both have a ton of experience inside and outside at the NFL level. And we know how that is coveted, and that could be the undoing of a guy like Michael Dunn. Like Michael Dunn's run in Cleveland could be over because he's a guard and they've got a couple guard tackles. I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying that could be something. So I'll start with you, Casey, with you, Nick. We'll go around the horn and just some initial thoughts overall on what they have at left tackle, and we'll get into some specifics as well.
Well, just in general, just the tackle position in general, there's the most variance between could be really great and it could be what we're looking at last year because your top three tackles all returning from season-ending injuries, and varying degrees of them. The Jed, it's the consistency, man. Like, and look, at this point, I'm not even caring. You got to show me whether you're good or bad. I can't have you toeing the line. We have to know if there needs to be a decision made following this season. So you got to show me, are you really good or are you just really bad? Because this middling stuff, it's like you don't know what he is. And if you've been with the team for this long and we don't know what you are, I think that's pretty telling of what you actually are. But Jack Conklin one scares the shit out of me. This dude's been so injured. And credit to him, Jack powers back every time. But at some point, because I think he's only like 30 years old.
Yeah, I don't think he's.
You know what I mean? Like
30.
But boy, he feels older just because of the injuries, because of the wear.
29.
Right?
29?
That's what I'm saying, dude. That's crazy. He should be right now, right in his physical prime. But he just tore the patella tendon, comes back, tears an ACL, and there's been varying injuries in between. So I don't know when we'll see him. I hope he's able to get back all the way healthy. But the guy that I'm most excited about is the guy who's making the least amount of money, which is what this offensive line needs. Is they need cheap talent to step up, and Dwan Jones is, but even he's returning from injury.
Yeah.
So it's a crapshoot. Could be really good. Could be a reason that we're looking for to improve on next season.
I think the biggest thing with Jedrick Wills is the highs and lows that have been associated with him. Like we've seen a tackle that could potentially get paid and could potentially get extended with the Browns. We've also seen a guy that especially. So I watched Browns Bengals week 1 back again, and Trey Hendrickson had his way with Jedrick Wills in that game, and so especially you combine that with Pittsburgh and just look at the way. Anyway, the point is Wills has just got to find some type of middle ground, and they drafted him in the top 10, right, with high expectations, and so maybe the offensive line coaching change. Maybe Dickerson can reach Wills in a different way that Callahan could. I'm not sure. I know Callahan's a great coach, but I'm just saying that there's clearly some mental stuff up there with Wills where sometimes Jed looks like he would rather be anywhere else than on the football field at that moment. And that's not a skill issue. That's so maybe coaching can help you. And I think you touched on it really well with Jack Conklin, Casey. He's battled back from injuries a million times, but the older you get, the harder it is. He's under contract, so we know he's going to be here. So I think it's just a really big question of where he's at. Now, thankfully, you find Dwan Jones, and now I know he's battling back from injury too, but he showed you a lot of really promising play. So I'm less concerned there. I think between Conklin and Dwan Jones, you're going to have one of them give you solid tackle play on the right side. So really, as I look at this group as a whole, I just need to know. I just need to know what we're going to get from Jedrick Wills, man. I just need to know because unlike the right side, it just doesn't feel like, and I know the Browns are trying to give an answer behind Wills, but I don't feel great about anybody behind him. And so that's kind of my biggest question as we enter. Best case scenario, you're motivated by getting another contract. Maybe your new coaching helps you. Maybe you as a player develop better and you play yourself into that extension. But there's a wide range of outcomes here with Jedrick Wills this season.
It's oh my God, the ceiling versus the crash and burn opportunity. It's so massive in this room for everything that you guys just said. Jedrick Wills, like you think about Jed after the bye week, right before he gets hurt. Those last couple of games, he was really good. Yeah, he was as good as we've seen. Yeah, I go back. The thing that I always come back to him with is his rookie year, because his rookie year, not necessarily as a run blocker, because it was a little up and down as a run blocker, but like there was a lot of teach tape in pass pro from what Jed was doing as a rookie at left tackle. And that was during the pandemic when he didn't have a real offseason to transition from right tackle to left tackle. And I think that's what's so frustrating about what has happened over his career since then, is he came out hair on fire, came out as a rookie, had to do all of that shit via Zoom and in his backyard and whatever, wherever else. Cause there was all kinds of crazy stories on where these players were training and what they were doing and all those kind of things. And then it's just like his second year, it's like, sometimes he doesn't look like he gives a shit. And it's like, he comes out there. It was almost like coming out of the bye last year, like he got a fire lit under his ass. Like, dude, if you want to reach the apex, if you want to cash in, you have got to step it up. And he did. And then he gets hurt. And that's just, that really sucks, because you said it, Casey, we don't know what he is, and we should know what he is by now. And I feel like if he doesn't get hurt, we probably have a decent idea. Like, would he have kept up that play or would he regressed? I don't know, but we would at least have a better understanding.
It's very similar to the Baker Mayfield situation, is it not?
Yeah.
It's exactly like the Baker Mayfield situation, except Jed didn't play hurt and Baker did, but you still didn't get to really evaluate Baker correctly, I don't think.
Yeah. Spikes above and below, just show me what you are, for better or for worse. At least we'll know we're not to walk away from the investment. And to touch on something Nick said, week 1, you get Hendrickson. Week 2, he had Highsmith. Week 1, you have Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
You're coming back from an injury. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Talk about hitting the ground running, brother. Like,
right.
It'll be a national televised game. And if
I'm Zimmer, I'm putting him over Jed. I'm not moving him around. I'm just putting him over Jed and letting him go. Like I think that's what you may see. Like, cause they everybody gets moved around, but if you've got Parsons can shoot the gap so well. And when Jed gets beat bad, it's from a guy that shoots the gap inside. If you try to go outside on Jed, he can pretty well take care of business.
Yeah, he can overset to the outside and get beat with an inside shoulder. And someone as explosive as Parsons, and he's strong enough to push upfield shoulder and dip back inside. It's
Jed looks like he should have so much more power than it seems like he currently does.
He has the talent, man. Like, he has the ceiling. I always say this with these high draft picks, especially Andrew Berry's had a proclivity. Is that the word?
It is.
Oh, look at that. How about that?
Man,
anyway,
it is.
He is loved to try to bring reclamation projects of guys that are drafted high, because they're drafted high for a reason. Now, quarterback is kind of a special circumstance, because you got to reach for quarterbacks all the time, because if you don't have one, you're kind of fucked. So you kind of, that's a little different. But if you're picked in the first round, you've got to have something, upside or elite physical traits or the most prolific pass rusher in the NFL or in college football for 3 years, or there's something that stands out. Something elite that stands out, even if it's just upside. And Jed had that, and I understand he had not the struggle, but the difficult. He had a very difficult task to move from one side to the other. And I know we see swing tackles that do it all the time, and things like that. But Jed was 21 coming in, and had only played right tackle, and he had to do it, like I said before, doing it during COVID and all this stuff. So it's we understand that, but you've been at left tackle long enough now. Yeah. So that aspect of it, it can't be an excuse anymore. But it's do or die this year. And that's it, man. After 5 years, if we don't know, we got to move on.
Well, it sucks too, because you see someone picked after him, like Tristan Wirfs, who starts off as the right tackle, transitions to left, and is an all-pro there already. You know, so that hurts.
That's tough. That's real tough.
Yeah, that's the one he's always compared to. And we used to be able to say, like, well, Tristan Wirfs is playing right tackle. We don't know if he'd be any good if we moved him to left. Like, that was always the argument. Like,
turns out,
it turns out, yeah, he actually can do it. It's like, oh shit. But I just am so fascinated. I like the depth though. Like, I like the overall depth here. I don't know. It's better than last year, I guess, is the biggest thing that I come to, is that
yes,
we had to play with the depth, the depth.
We had to play with the depths from the street,
right?
Not from your roster, not from your practice squad. You had to go pluck off the street.
You grabbed Jerron Christian off the street, and then he started like 8 games or something like that. I don't remember how many he started, but he started like quite a bit of games after coming off the street. And I think you're in a better spot. Like, the Adeniji is interesting because he was a little bit of a liability for the Bengals at right guard during that Super Bowl run. He was one of the weak spots that got exploited during their Super Bowl run, but he's been to a damn Super Bowl. Like, so when I think about it, it's like there's some experience of a guy that's been there and done that, and he's played a ton. I don't want him starting, but if he spot starts at left tackle or something like that, I feel okay for a game or two there. I mean, I think he's been around long enough. You've got the big question between Dwan Jones. A lot of people still want to move him to left tackle and all that stuff, and I'm not getting into any of that. That's not happening while Jed's here, at least. Like, I'll never say, I won't say never, just solely because I don't know what happens at left tackle. I don't know what happens with Jedrick Wills. Like, I mean, you just mentioned one of it. You just talked about Tristan Wirfs. They moved him over to left tackle because they didn't have another answer at left tackle, and they were trying to get their best 5 on the field. Like, and so it was like, well, what are we going to do?
Exactly.
Well, the most talented 5 out front is if we put Tristan Wirfs at left tackle, and it worked. So you could see, like, if Jack Conklin gets healthy, it stays healthy, and Jed goes down, I just wouldn't be surprised. They're not going to do that going into the season, but ultimately you've got a lot of questions. Like, James Hudson's now buried on the depth chart. Do they try him at guard?
I think he gets a couple shots at guard, but ultimately I think you're just looking uphill, man. You got too many guys with inside outside, plus you drafted Zenter. Unfortunately for Hudson, unless he has some miraculous turnaround, I don't see a spot for him.
And then Jermaine Ifedi, that's a former first-round pick at tackle. He can play inside, he can play outside. You've just got that flexibility where if someone goes down, you've got an experienced player already on the roster that can play that position. So I'm terrified about left tackle because I always am, because it's left tackle. It's ever since the guy that you're representing today left.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But overall, I think they've got some major questions because their top 3 tackles are coming off of injury. But some of the biggest questions are, where do you find room for some of these guys? Because they have some talented and experienced depth pieces, including Dwan Jones. And I think that's a good spot. Like, I would give this room a B-, like a C+, B-, somewhere in that range. Like, if we're grading it, because I think the depth's good. I really like your guard. Well, I guess we're doing just offensive tackle. Sorry. But we'll talk about interior offensive line later. But, like, you've got Jermaine Ifedi, like, you've got Adeniji, you've got some really experienced guys. And Dwan Jones isn't even considered a not like, James Hudson has a ton of experience on both sides. If you have to play him, it's great. He's great. I think he's a really good run blocker. He just can't really he can't set the edge.
He's always been good when he's been called on to relief, like in game. But then if he knows he's starting, for some reason, it's just not there. But he can come in inside of a game and give you really good minutes, and give you some good snaps. I don't know if I can't grade the room.
It's hard.
It's just because the variance is wild to me. Could be really good, could be catastrophic. The one thing that I do lean on is I believe Dwan Jones could be an all-pro in this league.
Yeah.
If he puts in the requisite work, everything's there for him, man. And I just I'm not 100% opposed to putting him at left tackle, but you have to let him know that assignment ahead of time. During exit meetings last year, then he'd be like, "Hey, let's go put this in your ear now. Work on these things because this could be your future." And and you have to evaluate that instead of just saying he's a left tackle and then all of a sudden he has to learn that, and he's talented enough an athlete with good enough feet that I believe he could do it. But if the real situation for me is how are they going to handle Conklin's returning? Are they going to just, when he's ready, he's the starter, or when he's ready, are they going to ease him back as the swing? Because Jack has left experience as well.
He was
in college, but like he was left tackle in college. He just got drafted by a team with Taylor Lewan, and he was the right tackle. So it'd be interesting to see how they handle his return. I think obviously the timing of the injuries and the severity of the injuries, Dwan will be ready to go before Jack is.
Well, he's the only one of the three that participated in minicamp.
Exactly.
The other two were there.
Right. But do you pull him if Jack's ready and have him be the swing, or do you have Jack be the swing and ease him back into it? It'll be fascinating to see how they handle it.
Go ahead.
After everything we saw last year with the way that the Browns had to shuffle everything around, would it be the craziest outcome to okay, it's like week 9 and Jack Conklin's your left tackle and Dwan Jones is your right? Like, is that? I mean, it doesn't sound unbelievable.
No, after what we saw last year, dude, playing.
Right.
I don't.
Me.
Yeah.
Left tackle.
I'm just saying. Oh
no, I don't think that is unbelievable. I mean, you say that, and I was thinking about this the other day. The idea of Jack Conklin as the swing tackle, the third tackle, because unless you've already talked to Dwan Jones about this and make him your swing tackle, and kind of he starts playing some left tackle, and they could have already talked to him about it. I don't know, but like you said, easing Conklin back into it and making him the swing guy, and then like Jed goes down or something like that, and he comes at a left. I think that's very much in the realm of possibility. I know it's kind of going out on a limb, and I'm not saying that they want that, but you almost look at Conklin and you say he's had a tough go the last 2 years when it comes to a patellar injury, and then gets right out. It's the first half of the first game, and he blows out his knee. And it's just like, do you give him a bunch of time to where he doesn't start? Because if you don't start him at right tackle and Dwan plays well, you can't pull him. Like, I don't think you can pull him. And I mean, Jack Conklin doesn't seem like the guy that would like start a bunch of shit and be all pissed off that he's not playing or anything like that. He doesn't give me that vibe. He could be. I don't know. I mean, he's getting paid either way. But
right.
Well, he'd be the most expensive swing tackle in league history.
But I don't think it's that crazy.
No,
because of all the circumstances.
Move, to be honest with you, I think that's probably the move.
Because Dwan gets hurt and you can go to Jack. Like, that's not like, I'm not saying that Dwan will get hurt. I'm just saying if that happened and like it's week 10 and Dwan's got a stinger, his knee's sore, something like that. And it's like, you know what? We're not going to put you back out there and risk re-injury. Let's start Jack Conklin at right tackle. Like, that's a luxury if you can get to that spot. Like, or even if Jack's comfortable at left again and Jed's got a stinger, shoulder injury, he needs a couple of weeks. Well, and you put Conklin out there to start a couple of weeks, especially at right tackle, I think that puts you in a pretty good position.
Yeah, it serves twofold. I mean, obviously, it's about getting your best 5 on the field. But if of all these players, the guy whose development I don't want to stifle is Dwan Jones.
Yes.
Sure.
I believe in his ceiling. I think he has the best in front of him. So,
I just want to add something that gives me confidence entering this year from an offensive tackle perspective is the stability that the Browns have by bringing Kevin Stefanski back and having to deal with being down to your offensive tackle. It was a 4 and 5 or 5 and 6.
I think 5 and 6.
5 and 6.
11 and 12.
Okay. Like I said,
right.
it felt like 11 and 12.
Right. So the fact that in that situation, a situation I feel would sink most teams, especially from a pass blocking perspective, the Kevin Stefanski still found a way to coordinate an offense that led the league in passing yards and led the league in passing touchdowns in that situation. Now, I get it. Joe Flacco's not here. I understand that. But the point is that they found a way to protect Joe enough, even with offensive tackle 5 and 6, to still have this prolific passing game when the run game was non-existent, right? So you're bringing back Kevin, and he's already found a way to succeed with really not the, as you said, Casey, street offensive tackle play. Mm-hmm. So in the worst case scenario, I'm more confident than I think the average would be, because we've already seen them find a way to succeed in that situation. And it wasn't always pretty, but they did it. And I don't think, honestly, many coaches or teams could do and replicate. I mean, it speaks for itself when you say that the Browns were the only team with 4 quarterbacks to make multiple starts to ever make the playoffs. Like that still just sticks in my brain. And they found a way. So I don't know how this offensive tackle situation is going to play out, but I know that they're going to figure out a way to be successful offensively.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like,
stuck the landing.
Yo, I just want to say we have carried over 200 people here throughout this entire time, mostly from X. It would make our day if you would go to the YouTube. It's in the show link on Twitter, which I know you're watching because I see your numbers. If you go to that YouTube and you click subscribe or like, it would make our day and really help a bunch of guys here chase dreams, man. So with that being said, we may be doing a preview on Tuesday. Maybe, I'm not sure.
We're trying. We're waiting to hear back.
We're waiting to hear back. But either way, we'll be here. We'll be here. We know you'll be here because you have all been watching so much. So thank you for that. So with that being said, this has been a Nick Chubb return offensive tackle review episode of the Barking Browns Show. Nick, that's Jacob. He's Casey. Go Browns.
Yeehaw, Skyrim.
Go Browns.